get into it. Welcome back, everyone. I'm really glad that you could make it, stick around. I hope that you have gained a lot from our previous session. So I'm going to take you through a step-by-step instructional guide on how to build this ritual based on all the tools that I've talked about so far. So let's jump right into it. So one of the first things that you want to do is set aside time where you will be undisturbed. That is extremely important. I remember hearing one of the world's famous fictional writers say this, that interruption is the death of every writer. And I have to agree that this is also applicable to rituals. So make sure that you are going to be undisturbed. The next step is to begin with deep breathing, and what this does is increase the flow of oxygen to your brain. It also means that you're going to be more alert, and that is crucial during energetic events. Sometimes the energy can be so super heavy that it makes you sleepy. So deep breathing, practice it long before you actually take on doing the ritual. This is where we get physical. So you draw an equal-sided triangle with the apex facing up, and then you draw another equal-sided triangle with the apex facing down and intersecting the first one so that you form a six-pointed star. Now, where you are drawing these is a kind of obvious question. So if you are drawing it on paper, that's also great. At the end of this, I will also give you some picture diagrams, and I'll also be able to include those files. There will be a supplemental file so that you guys can download and have some material to actually work with. So you can draw this on paper, or if you are using other materials, let's say salt or flour or even rice or sugar, these are all good materials to use, or cornmeal. These are all good materials to use. You can draw this, or if you have just, carpet or just like hardwood floor or laminate, you can use tape to also create these shapes. Next step. Between the intersection, that's where you would draw the circle. And then an equal-sided square around all of this. And again, I will be able to show you the full diagram once this is complete. Place something of yourself in the circle, or you stand or sit in the circle. So again, this is for if you are drawing on paper or working like on the ground or on the floor. So if you're working with paper, then you want to place something that is organic from yourself into that circle on the paper. And if you're working, just on the floor, then I highly recommend that you be the one in the circle. Visualize the circle as a massive ball or sphere that is all the way around you, completely encompassing you above your head and below your feet. Up next, you want to visualize the triangles as fully formed pyramids around you. And bear in mind that when you're performing these visualizations, whether you're working on paper or on, like a floor, the visualization is the same. Then visualize the square as a fully formed cube around everything around you. Now, I would encourage that if you're doing this on the floor, have another piece of paper with you, or at least a cut-out picture representation of what you want. So you will either draw or have a representation of what you want and have it with you in the circle. And this is crucial. Speak what you want clearer than anything you have ever spoken before. Why? Remember my diagram with Charlie, and remember how I said that the joints represent spirit. This is how it ties in, because the neck is one of those joints, and therefore spirit. Remember from the creation story, the Akasha is spirit, and from the Akasha everything emanated. So this is a crucial part of the creative process. You must speak what you want clearer than anything you have ever spoken before. Now, as a part of the creation story, it's extremely important for you to get emotional about what you want. And this is the point of getting emotional. Remember that the first two elements that emanated from the Akasha was fire and water. Fire is that creative spark. Water is the emotional content. It was the interaction of those two that produced air. If you don't get emotional, then you can't breathe. And if you can't breathe, you can't live. You can't be inspired. You can't get on to the next thing, to the next amazing thing that's going to be that point of success in your life. So when you're in ritual, once you've done the other visualizations, get emotional about what you want. Then this is where you go through the act of wash, rinse, repeat. So you've already spoken the thing that you want, but now you want to repeat it. And it is extremely important that you pay attention to the number of times. No less than 27 times. The number 27 is paramount here. It's beyond the scope of what we're doing right now for me to talk about why, but please trust me on this. No less than 27 times. You can do it more if you like, just no less than 27. Now you get even more physical, and this follows for if you're working on paper or if you're working on the floor. Visualize your hands reaching into the apex of the upper triangle or pyramid, and by that I mean physically lift your hand up into the air and see yourself reaching right up to the apex. And the reason you're going to do that is because you're going to visualize finding what you want and gripping it firmly and bringing it back to you. So whether it's a car or $5,000 or a lover or whatever have you, feel and see yourself gripping onto that thing that you asked the universe for and claim it. Pull hard and bring it down into the circle with you. This is the next crucial point. Visualize receiving it. Remember, the first triangle pyramid with the apex facing up is pointing towards all possibilities. The one that's facing down is you receiving it. So visualize receiving it. Lock in the triangle feeling into your mind, and then immediately transition to being grateful. These two, I've kind of put them back to back because in my experience of helping others, these two have been the most critical area where spells and rituals fall down. It's not enough to just get emotional about what you want. And it's definitely not enough to only speak it. You have to lock in the feeling. If you don't feel that car is suddenly squished in that same circle with you in the sphere, that's the point of repeating 27 times and no less. Because the way of our mind, we tend to self-sabotage, or we tend to try to negotiate what we're feeling in that moment. And the self-doubt comes in, and oh, well, this can't really be real. And, I might just be imagining this thing, or, this might just be some sort of subliminal effect. No, none of that is true. And none of that matters. By committing to the subjective experience, you create within yourself as the microcosm, because outside of you, all things are created in the macrocosm. By you claiming the creation and pulling it in, it automatically creates a tangible feeling in your mind, and you have to lock that in. When you lock it in, the next step becomes super easy, to just be grateful. And I mean, be so grateful in that moment like you're a 2-year-old who's just received a brand new pair of splashing boots. Like, be super, super grateful. Get giddy about it. There's an immediate transition from that gratefulness. Come down from such an emotional high. Why? Because that emotional high is supposed to be linked directly to the magic itself, fuel for the battery. And then the battery will fuel the magic. And I meant to say it like that. Fuel for the battery, and then the battery goes on and powers the magic. You don't want to personally be the battery, but you do want to fuel the battery so that the battery can go ahead and do that. Another way of saying this is get the hell out of your own way. Set it, forget it, leave it alone. Locking in the tangible feeling is then attached to the battery. So you don't have to worry about it. Basically, you have to just let the universe do its work. When you come down from such an emotional high, you have to seal in coming down from that. Now, if you find yourself experiencing always continuously reaching out while you're trying to come down from the emotional high, the most profound and effective way you can do that is to eat something immediately. So that process looks like be grateful. So you're super giddy. You're oh my God, this is so good. I feel so good. I finally have the car. And then you come down from that emotional high. The fastest way to do that is to eat something immediately. So when you're in that circle, make sure that you have something with you. You don't really want to move out of the circle, out of the creative space. Movement out of the creative space could be a bit jarring at that point, so that's not what you want. But you do want to eat something immediately while you're in there. The most effective thing that I've found to eat in that moment is dark, sweet chocolate. Now, even if you don't like chocolate, it simply works faster, simply because you don't like chocolate. So it's going to jar you out of that emotional high. Why do you want this? Again, this is because you want to simply be the fuel for the battery. When that battery is full, you want to detach and allow the magic to go on about its business and work on your behalf. Close down the ritual. And that's the final step with that. So let's continue on to the next section. Alright, so what you're seeing on the screen right now is that diagram that we talked about with the black upper triangle and then the white lower triangle. You'll also notice here that the square is in the middle, and that's one of the places it can be, but it can also be outside, just like this, like we talked about. All right, so the other part of this is to remember that we've got our cardinal directions, so your north, your east, your south, and then we have the west. Remember to add to that the balancing points of northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast. Those are the combinations that are going to be needed in order to balance out bringing the magic to you. So I want to show you something else here. I found this diagram while doing research for this, and I thought it was so fitting because it also goes through the same attributes that we talked about. So water, healing, expression, peace, compassion. In the air, east, intuition, knowledge, renewal, change. We've got passion, inspiration, intuition, creativity, protection for fire, spirit, which is the indigo at the bottom, the soul, the divine, the mystery. And we also have fertility, wealth, abundance, strength, and wisdom in the earth. You'll also notice that air and earth above, those what we call alchemical symbols, they have that line through them. And in a minute I'm going to bring back the other diagram, and you'll be able to actually see the same line representation through the diagram that I've shown before. And now we can watch them side by side. See that? All right. It's very, very important to take this in the way that it's set up. In the north, you have your bowl of earth, which is just a representation. Temple incense, which is a representation for the east, for air. Bowl of alcohol fire. I like to use alcohol fire simply because it burns much cleaner. And then goblet of water for water in the west. I will show you another diagram here that actually breaks down the way that the magic itself works once you put this into place. All right, so we'll bring that slide up right now. All right, here we go. So one of the most important points I want to make here is you are the creative. You are that creator. You are creating your life. So you are the creative. Creatives have needs. So what is a need? In this context, a need is planned focus. Now, on the mental side, you're devoted to why you need what you need. Remember how we talked about the why and what you need. And by identifying those two, that's part of the devotion. That's part of your planning process. In the astral, This is where we experience spatial awareness. Where is the need? So what aspect of your life is requiring this need? And when do you need? Which brings in the law of rhythm, or what we call the law of gestation. Simply put, everything takes time, and you have to really understand this. No matter what the magic is, it's going to take time. Not your time, but the universe's version of time. The universe is extremely volatile when it comes to making calculable decisions. That does not include us, which now brings me to the last point, which is how need. So how the need is brought to you is the responsibility of the universe, not yours, because you did your part by creating the magic for the need. The universe's response is the how. How it does it, that's up to the universe. This is where the universe brings a physical manifestation to you. It causes you, though, to experience self-realization. Because when you're paying attention to the law of rhythm, law of gestation, as in the timing, you then realize when it is time to act. So for example, let's say the car. Let's say you wake up one morning and you decide, well, you get the feeling, I really shouldn't go to work today. I gotta go down to the car lot. I have to deal with this, right? If you talk yourself out of that and say, no, you know what, I have responsibilities, I should go to work. Now you've missed the opportunity that the universe was providing for you. I know it seems counterintuitive and contrived. Some of you may think, well, if I miss work, well, how am I going to pay for the car? Remember, we're working magic. The how is the responsibility of the universe. Timing is of the essence. It takes a lot of gumption to really push yourself to think differently in this way, but I've lived this way for a very long time, so I understand the reality of it. Self-realization causes you to act promptly, and then the universe responds to your action by taking the least path of resistance to bring what you've asked for to you, or to guide you to the thing that you've asked for. I kid you not, this is exactly how simple it is. This is what goes on behind the scenes after every ritual that you perform correctly. When you stay out of the way, remember that part that I talked about? You just have to get the hell out of your own way. This is what happens when you get out of your own way. And I think it's just beautiful. It is such an amazing piece. Let's go back to the other two so you can really take it in a bit more. Now imagine that you set up a ritual with this understanding. You're reaching into the upper apex to pull what you want, receiving it into the lower apex, into the circle, which is you, using all four elements and their attributes to contribute. That's magic.